Welcome to the Heartlight Sessions, a podcast about light working your way through dark times. I'm Janae Halstead. I'm a singer-songwriter, holistic vocal coach, intuitive guide, and plant medicine facilitator. I'm also a survivor of childhood abuse, autoimmune issues, and my 30s. I'm on a lifelong healing journey, and along the way, I want to share the ideas and teachings that rock my world. Every week on Heartlight Sessions, I call in artists, healers, and thinkers to explore what's helped them live and thrive from a heart-centered place. Because the heart, it's where the best things happen. If you've ever wondered how to unlock your biggest breakthroughs or how to come back from that stuff that tried to kill you, you know the stuff I'm talking about, the stuff that's supposed to make you stronger. Or if you've ever wondered how to just do you straight from the heart, you're in the right place. So join me, won't you? Let's turn on that heart light. Turning on my heart light. 1,000 volts of sunshine. Hello, hello, hello.
Hi.
Hi. I'm so happy. I'm so excited about this conversation. I have Nathan Hirschaut with me, and he is one of the most beautiful dancers. And I love watching you express, channel through movement. He's teaching dance as a spiritual practice, and he's Juilliard-trained. I like the tagline. It's trained in Juilliard, transformed in temples.
Exactly.
20 years of movement experience. So let's just dive right in with what you're doing right now. And maybe we can kind of flow the conversation from there.
I mean, my whole story and life has been the dance. I found the dance when I was 7. I was watching my sister's dance recital, and a guy came on and he wore these white long gloves and he was sort of doing this Broadway routine. And I was just completely enamored by it. I came home and I could not stop dancing. And so my mom was like, okay, we're going to put him into the classes. And it was like one class a week. The next week I was like in another class. The next month I was in 4 classes. The next month I was in 8 classes.
What?
By the time I was 10 years old, I was competing. By the time I was 12, I was competing internationally.
Wow.
By the time I was 15, I got emancipated to move to Arizona to live on my own and train there for 2 years in like the best competitive dance school in the country. And then I went to Juilliard. So my life was horse blinders, dance. I was a major perfectionist, a massive control freak, and very hard on myself, extremely critical. And so take that equation and then put it into the highest expectation dance school in the world.
Yes.
And you get a break, you get a complete fracture of when I am not achieving the perfection that I expect of myself. I am not worthy. I'm not valued. And I don't value myself, And so I had a massive moment of being like, is this why I do this?
Yeah.
Do I do this to be the best?
Yeah.
Because the original spark was not that, The original spark was there is a love and there is a joy and there is an experience beyond the day-to-day life, an experience, we could say, an ecstatic experience that person was having that I was yearning for. An expressive experience that I was yearning for. And so I had a real moment, and that was the spiritual awakening. That was the turning point when I started to realize that I was not my identity that had been built up, that was this perfect thing and had to be, make no mistakes. Yeah.
Yeah, so you've been writing a lot about that lately, and I'm wondering because I feel like you've had several kind of initiations in the past few years, but when was that first one, and did that coincide with illness, Or was
No.
there something earlier?
Yeah, so I was 18 when that
Mm,
first one happened.
mm,
And I read Be Here Now by Ram Dass, and I started doing just basic asanas and meditation. And I had an amazing friend at school who was a massive inspiration for me
mm,
spiritually. And, we always have that person who sort of
mm-hmm.
is like the initial hand into the path. Bless them, bless them, bless them, bless them,
Yes.
bless them.
Yes.
And I started just learning that, I was not my thoughts and gaining that
Mm,
spaciousness to be
mm,
able to then change. And then I found Guru Jagat and Kundalini Yoga and was studying with her for 6 years,
yep.
very intimately. A very controversial personality,
Yes.
but she helped me tremendously.
Me
I would
too.
not be
She
the
changed
person
my
that I
life.
was
Me either.
without her.
Me either.
So I was at Juilliard and then I would finish classes and go to Rama and then go
Wow.
home. So I was almost like doing simultaneous schooling and
Yes.
education where I was getting this like very sophisticated dance training and then I was getting this very sophisticated spiritual training. And
Yes.
that was kind of then like created the backbone to what I do now. But
Wow.
so in 2019, I was 20 years old and my dad died suddenly in like a freak accident. And
Mm,
that was sort of like the next catalyst, the next initiator. I went to Egypt with my mom
mm,
just as sort of a way to find solace. And I went into the Temple of Philae,
mm,
Isis's temple,
mm,
and I had a massive awakening there where I heard her say, I am your mother and you are my son.
mm.
And it brought tears to my eyes. I was sitting in between Hari Jivan and Guru Jagat, the sort of two teachers, and they were
Yeah.
just like holding me in this embrace as I was just like completely breaking down. Um, and I would say that was the point where the healing journey really
Mm,
started, where the
mm.
deeper sort of you need to go into the underworld now and
Yes.
you need to find all of these fractured pieces of yourself. And it's no longer about just a spiritual high, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which it is in
Mm-hmm.
the beginning.
Yep.
We're like,
Yep.
I love the
You feel
spiritual
so
path. I feel
good and
so
you're
good.
like,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah,
you're like searching for that high all the time. Yeah. Then it became really a journey into the underworld. And then Guru Jagat died
yeah,
a year or two after my dad died, and then
yeah,
I got chronically ill
yeah.
with sort of a long COVID,
Mm.
multi-virus strep infection that just would
Wow.
not go away. It was like I got sick in 2022 in like March, April, just cold after cold after cold after flu after food poisoning
Oh my
until
God.
essentially I broke. I had this massive
Yeah,
migraine. I had shingles all over my body. And I mean, I was overworking for
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
I was not living the life I am now where I was listening to my body and following its cues. I
Mm-hmm.
was
Mm-hmm.
totally still in control freak. I did
Yeah,
not want to let go of my ambition. I was like,
right.
no, I was this very ambitious kid. I will be successful. I will achieve all of my goals. I
Yes.
will control my life. I thought I was going to be a choreographer. I thought I was going to go down this path in this very specific way. I still had so much resistance to fully giving in to
Yeah.
the Dharma, to fully giving in to the deeper purpose. I really thought this other life was going to give me everything I wanted. And
Yes.
like the fame and the attention and the recognition from the institutions and the art
Mm,
world, it was
mm,
so seductive to me. I was like, oh,
mm.
this is going to make me whole. This
Yeah.
is going to like bring me the salvation that I've been looking for. Little did I know, and we both know now that, it's not.
Yes.
And the body knows actually so much more about what we really need.
Right.
Um, and it was a 2 year journey with
Mm,
illness, really, of massive fatigue, sometimes months spent in bed. I was pretty much in solitary isolation. realized that I didn't have true friends.
Mm. That's so hard.
Everything was about what I could get from my friends, how they
Yeah.
supported me in my
Yeah.
career, you know?
Yeah.
And that was then when the deeper teachings really started to settle in. And I ultimately had no choice. It was like, if you want to get out of this, you have to meet these false gods and see through it.
Did you have a moment during that where you were just on your knees, like where you finally had that surrender moment where you were like, okay, all right, I'm here. I'm here for it. Like that
Kind
rock
of.
bottom.
Yeah, oh yeah, I for sure had the rock bottom. My mom had kicked me out of my house
Mm,
because I wasn't following her medical advice.
mm,
And so she said, you can't live here anymore, and I'm not going to financially support you. And
mm.
so I used my savings account to get an Airbnb uh, 5 minutes from my mother's house because
Oh
I had
my
no
God.
energy to go anywhere.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
couldn't move,
Oh my gosh.
Went to this place, was completely alone, like did not know, like it was where I grew up, but I left home when I was 15, so I didn't really
Yeah.
have friends in that area. And living there alone for a month and just dealing with the obscene pain. I deal with
Mm,
a facial pain condition,
mm,
and it was so extreme. And I one night just lost it, and I was dealing with ideation at that point, and
mm.
I just didn't want to be alive in that body anymore.
Yes.
I was like,
Yeah.
the body was such a torturous experience living in that body, and I tried to make peace with it, but the pain was so intense, and I was really also in a place of like that hyper independence of just like, I
Yeah.
have to go through this on my own. I
Yeah.
wasn't willing to get support. I wasn't getting like the medication that I needed.
Yeah.
And then it just sort of crumbled. And I reached out to my friend and I was like, look, if you want me here, you have to tell me now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and she did. And then everything started shifting when I started letting people in,
Mm.
and getting support and getting
Mm.
help. And we started doing 3 Joe Dispenza meditations every day. We would
Amazing.
like get on Zoom. She would get on every day with me, like talk
Wow.
about a friend. It's totally saved my life, turned my life around. 40 days later, was in a completely different place.
Which meditations did you do?
I did body parts space in the
Mm-hmm.
morning. Then I did
Mm.
generous present moment.
Mm.
Then I did what was the one I did at night? Oh, the blessing of the energy
Blessings of
centers.
the energy centers.
Yeah.
That changed my life. Like I mean, my thyroid does go up and down, but like the blessing of the energy centers, like took my thyroid numbers like way down. And
Yeah.
I didn't stick with it because it takes a while, but like if you're chronically ill,
Hmm.
like that is an incredible meditation.
You have to learn how to regulate your
Yes.
system.
Yeah.
And those meditations gave me sort of the initial, just to get out of that crisis.
Yes.
Those meditations became the perfect stepping stone.
Yeah. When you start to reduce inflammation in the body, when you start to regulate, it's like then you can actually start to like peer through the blinds and see, you know, okay, there's
Yeah.
some hope.
Yeah. Exactly.
And so from there, after 40 days, what was your next step?
Gosh, then it was I started learning Buddhist Dharma, and I went to Land of the Medicine Buddha, and I worked and lived at a retreat center for 3 months
Mm.
and was continuing to study Buddhist philosophy and Buddhist psychology. And from that point, then I started working with a biochemist in Nashville. I was finally
Mm.
humbled enough
Wow.
to accept the help that had been
Yeah.
offered.
Yeah.
And also, when you're accepting help, you are accepting something beyond your control.
Yes.
You're having to trust something outside of you. And my trust was so broken that I really
Mm.
had to like restore that trust, because
Mm.
I had tried a lot of different medical medium and different sort
Mm-hmm.
of healing
Mm-hmm.
modalities. and they didn't work. So I
Yeah.
was very brokenhearted
Yeah.
and kind of was like, well, nothing's worth it. Like
Yeah.
nothing's gonna work. Nothing's gonna
Yeah.
fix me. I'm not gonna heal. It's very in that place of I can't do it. Um, and then I went and I started working with this biochemist, and within 4 months, my entire life changed, and my
Wow.
body was 70% healed. I had enough energy to move to LA. And then my first week in LA, I met Saw, which is
How
like
crazy.
literally going from living alone, sick in the woods with like no friends around to like meeting this man who is going to like completely change my entire reality. So meeting him was like the boon at the end of the tunnel to be like, there is someone who is so loving, who wants to work with me and do this work. And Saw did for me is he became the permission slip
Mm.
for me to fully embrace myself as a healer and as
Mm.
a spiritual teacher.
I have
Because,
goosebumps.
yeah,
I
as
have
at that
goosebumps.
point, I was still holding on to my identity as a dancer
Hmm.
from this sort of like,
Yes.
concert dance world. But it wasn't serving me at all.
Yeah.
It really was actually not the life I wanted to live. And I
Yeah.
had to fully give that up. And that was so hard. There was so
I
much
get
grief in
it.
that. There
I
was
get
like
it.
so much loss. There was so much of like, did I fail? Am I a
Yeah.
failure? And it's like, no, wait a second. And so I saw the life that Saw was living. And I saw that he was like, I want to do this with you. I don't want to do this alone anymore. And you're totally the perfect person for it. And I was like so resistant in the beginning. I was like, no, I want to do my own thing. I don't want to work together. I'm still in that control space.
Yeah.
And just eventually I softened and I gave in and I was like, wait, we had the LA fires actually.
Hmm.
And we left. And that was the moment where I was like, this life with Saw and teaching the dance as a spiritual practice and as a healing modality, this is such a better life than anything
Mm.
that the concert dance world could give me. Like I'm
Yes.
so much happier, I'm
Mm.
so much healthier. I just feel way better. I feel aligned. And so it's like releasing that was like the most liberating piece of my story.
Mm. That is so beautiful. I know we cling. It's so hard. I was talking to my husband the other day about it too, and I'm like, there's just remnants of me that are still kind of clinging onto the side, of the wall. But it's like, but I actually let go a long time ago. It's like it does take a little bit of time to sort of get it out of your system, and being like, oh, I'm still just wanting that reflection from the music world, the song, but it's
Hmm.
like, but I'm not happy there.
Yeah.
I was never happy there. I had my moments, but yeah, it's just, I don't know, like you're saying, there's this bigger universe. And the beautiful thing is it doesn't actually negate anything. It doesn't leave out anything. You
No.
have a whole platform that you can
Mhm.
use, called Instagram or whatever, or YouTube or anything that you want to use where someone can like hop on and see you in like high art. I mean, I poured through your videos today. I was
Mhm.
just like, oh, can't even imagine having the opportunity to learn from you, you
Yeah.
know?
Same for you. I mean, it's like that vocal training that you have. It pieces of it come in, I
Yeah.
haven't thrown the baby out with the
Yeah.
bathwater. I really loved learning Gaga, which was
Mm.
the movement language by Ohad Naharin, and I got to study with him personally. And it's still all of that wisdom
Yeah.
still lives in me. I think it's just like we have to go where we're meant to go and where we're planted and
Exactly.
where the doors are open. Some people, they're really able to do the healing work in the industry,
Yeah.
in the dance industry, in the music
Yeah.
industry, because for some reason their aura is able to like to work in that
Yeah.
space.
Yeah.
But for me, it was very clear that I was like, this just there's so much friction here, and I just need to go and sort of do my own thing. But I would love to teach temple dance at Juilliard.
Yeah.
So Juilliard, if you're
Yeah.
watching,
Knock, knock,
I
knock.
think, yeah, exactly. I think that artists having a connection to their spirit is essential for an artist's creative development. I think
Exactly.
that spiritual practice and spiritual connection that isn't related to any certain religion or belief system, and the fact that that could happen through dance or through music or through the medium that these young dancers are trained in, I think that it's essential for their creativity, and I think that it could benefit them tremendously. So,
I think it's a missing piece. And I think this is actually the wave of the future, because how many dancers leave school and they're they're broken, or they're just missing something they don't understand, And it's also this thing about channeling, which is such a big part of the work you do. And it's part of the reason why I ended up not going into conservatory, even though I had accepted and was with scholarship. Was that I worked intuitively,
mhm,
and I wrote music intuitively, and I was worried that I was going to lose that.
mhm,
Now, someone like you got all the tools, and then through that you channel, which is
yeah,
the way to go. But I just think we're at this time now where like those systems are kind of falling apart.
yeah,
And people are hungry for this, for these bigger needs, it's like, what can I bring into this that supports me emotionally, that isn't
mhm,
gonna just feed my ego?
yeah, absolutely. You can create, you can dance, you can sing to develop your ego,
Yes.
to make it bigger, to possess something. These moves become my moves, this
Yes.
song becomes my song, and it's about me, right? None of the dancing that I'm doing or the dances that I'm creating are about me. They're actually a loss of
Yes.
identity. They're about
Yes.
creating a spaciousness where I can, when we lose the possessiveness and the grip of our identity, that's when freedom happens. That's when we
Yes.
can move, we can change, we can be everything at once. And that's, to me, infinitely more fulfilling than trying to like narrow myself into this one dot and
Yeah.
owning it.
Yeah.
That's holding on. It's dancing to hold on. But the dance work that I do is dancing to learn how to let go. And that is about trusting your body. When you learn how to trust and follow your body, when you learn that you can use movement as a way to interrupt your thinking,
Yes.
and that life is not a concept, life is not in our mind, life is an
Mm.
experience.
Mm.
That's to me infinitely more fulfilling.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about your video under the tree and how you were feeling, down, and this is a perfect example. And you have the earphones on, you go to the tree, and you can actually tell the story that things aren't really moving,
Yeah,
and you're trying to get there, and
we get stuck.
you're kind of forcing it. And then you take the earphones off, and I don't know if you want to talk about this because it's a beautiful
Yeah.
video.
Yeah, we get stuck. I say life is movement, life is change, and death, it's not actually death as we know it. Death is stagnation. Death is fixation. That's when we're no longer alive. We're trapped in a fixed sense of self. And when we're trapped in a fixed sense of self, that sense of self, it also has all these stories and all these traumas. And it
Hmm.
creates this paralysis. We all feel that sometimes
Yes.
when a trauma is reignited by something, we get absolutely paralyzed and we can't move. It's like I
Yeah.
cannot get out of bed. I feel completely stuck in this sensation. And a lot of times, then we go to distract, we go to numb. Well,
Yes.
how can I sort of take my mind out of this? How can I sort of distract myself because I don't want to meet this feeling? This feeling is too big for
Hmm.
me to meet. But when we go to the somatic dance floor, the spiritual dance floor, we're using dance as a way to invite change, to let go of that fixation. We're releasing the possessiveness and the story and the identity that attaches itself to all of this pain, all of this trauma.
Mm,
We're
mm.
releasing it, we're letting those feelings go. So we feel the feelings, but we feel them as an act of generosity. I give these feelings up. I no longer possess these feelings. I set these feelings free. I set my stagnation, my fixation free. I release it through movement. And when we start to move, even if we're going to be less philosophical or spiritual about it, when we start to move, things change.
Mm.
Things move. It's that simple, right? You don't have to think that much about it.
Yeah,
You can just get up and you can just start to move. Move your shoulders, move your
yeah.
neck, move your spine, move your hips, move where it
Mm.
feels stuck, right? And as you start to move, then it's like, oh, that thing that I was just so fixated on, that felt so paralyzing, sort of just disappears.
Yeah,
And I'm okay, because
yeah.
we're supposed to move. Babies
Yes,
move, they
yes.
cry, they feel that everything's in the present moment. And so I'm passionate about just getting things moving.
Yeah, and I think people get hung up on like the fear of the feeling, and they don't
Hmm.
want to feel the feeling because it feels so daunting and overwhelming. And the fact of the matter and the truth of it is, if you go into the feeling entirely, it's actually much less painful. You
Yeah.
can move through in one setting. You can move through a feeling that you've been holding on to your
Mm.
whole life, and especially with movement,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know?
absolutely. Like, suffering is not caused by what is, it's caused by our resistance and reaction to what is. That's, Buddhist philosophy 101, right? And you start
Mm-hmm.
to just ingrain that into it. Oh, wait, I can be with what is, and I can actually see through. I had this moment yesterday where I get overwhelmed really easily, especially after like dealing with neurological
Mm-hmm.
pain and chronic health issues.
Mm-hmm.
Overwhelm is like the thing that takes me out. Like it's just
Yeah.
like when I start to get overwhelmed, I'm just like I lose all my regulation. And I'm like totally like blacked out.
Mm.
And I realized like overwhelm, what it does, it actually changes our senses.
Mm-hmm.
Trauma and these emotions, they change our senses. So we're not seeing
Yes.
properly. We're
Yes.
not smelling properly. We're not tasting
Yes.
properly. We're totally sort of warped
Mm-hmm.
into an experience that is a non-reality. And in fact, it's not actually
Yeah.
here. But what I've been noticing after really working, doing this work is that I can just sort of like feel that. And then I can just like look around my room and be
Mm-hmm.
like, wait, everything's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, that emotion in factuality like doesn't exist here in this time and space and then I can like look at details and they root me into the present moment. I'm like, I'm okay. Everything's
Yeah.
okay. And I can
Yeah.
release this story. Because this story is not, it's a protective mechanism, but it's actually keeping me from changing, from
Yeah.
moving, from evolving.
Yeah. Yeah, the orienting is huge. Bringing yourself back into the present moment, looking around the room and just being aware of just even having enough space to be aware with that, with orienting, it's like to be able to get that wedge where you're like, "Oh, okay, this story is, you know, it's actually not the truth and it's not even the present moment."
Yeah,
But
profound.
that can be huge for people. It can be the nervous system dysregulation can be so daunting,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, and the dance is a place where we feel our feelings and we feel the feelings that the baggage of feelings, all of the past feelings, experiences, and sensations, they live in our bodies.
Yep.
If they have not been felt, they have been repressed into our bodies. And so as we move, sometimes a certain movement, you'll just feel something will click and a
Yeah.
whole feeling will start to come
Mm.
through you.
Mm.
And then we just remind ourselves that this feeling is not ours to possess anymore, right?
Mm.
Like that's the intention when we go to the
Mm.
dance floor is
Mm.
let me set this feeling free. And as I set this feeling free, I set myself free.
Mm, that is profound.
We
I
have to
love
stop
that.
possessing feelings. Feelings have nothing to do with an
Hmm.
I. They have nothing to do with an identity or personality. When we attach an I or a Y to a
Hmm.
feeling, then we possess it and
Mm,
we hold on to it. But the joy is not in holding on. The
mm,
joy is in letting go. That's what we
mm,
realize through the dance. The dance becomes joyful when we let go.
mm.
That's
I
when
love
it becomes
that.
worship. That's when it becomes devotional. Then the dance where it's a celebration of life. And what is life? Impermanence.
Hmm.
Life is we can't hold on to anything.
Yeah.
So we talk about surrender in the dance. Surrender is not an act. It's an unaction. It's an
Mm,
act of undoing.
mm,
Everything is impermanent. That is the truth. So we just recognize that. And then we start to let this moment dance us, and the next moment dance us, and the next moment dance us. And then we're in that flow of change, of impermanence. And that gives us this ability to befriend change and to learn
mm.
how to trust life and to learn how to see that when we can let things go, good things come.
Absolutely. I want to walk back a little bit to you finding Buddhism and how that happened and it really so much informs what you're doing now.
Yeah. Buddhism was sort of something that Gurujaya was teaching us all,
Hmm.
but it sort of was like,
Yeah,
secretly because it
it was a
wasn't,
little crouched behind. Yeah.
yeah. Um, I, my friend Sita, who I think you probably know as
Hmm.
well,
Yep.
um, she was a supporter and an advocate of me through the chronic illness journey. And she
Mm,
kept telling me, like, learn Buddhism, because that's really been her path. And I sort of was resistant to it. And then I gave in and I read this book called Dharma Art by
mm,
Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche.
mm,
And I was just like, oh, yep, this is it.
mm,
And it was really actually a very profound book for me because it was about uh, sort of decolonizing the idea of you as an artist being an identity, as like a
mm,
separate identity, and realizing that like art is in every moment. Art is in the way that we
mm,
do something. It's in our style. It's in the way we make our bed. It's in every moment. There's beauty. It's walking the beauty path. And so it helped me sort of like separate, oh, art is what happens when I'm in a dance studio
right.
versus when I'm here in this present moment. And that was very freeing because I was like, okay, well, I can't really dance right now. I can't really make my art in the way that I have, but I can live an artistic life. Um, and that was really beautiful. But yeah, the Buddhist philosophy, to me, it's just I'm on a deep quest for truth and
Yeah.
for illumination and for enlightenment, and I have been for a long time. It was, we see these little trickles of it even in our childhood of like
Yes.
the questions and the curiosity,
Yep.
and the studying Buddhism became a very sort of concrete way to explore that more.
Yeah, that deep hunger and the deep spiritual seeking, I think I had that since I popped out of the womb, and
Mhm.
was always like why and what and.
Yeah, I mean, for me, realizing that, like, what is the root of suffering, right? And does there have to be suffering? Because I was suffering so much. And
Yeah.
for me, I was just like, what brought me, I think, really to Buddhism was how do I suffer less?
Yeah.
And the heart of the teachings is that our suffering is caused by attachment, aversion, and ignorance, which is basically trying to find a way to escape reality as it is.
Yeah.
And all of the Buddhist teachings just are saying what all of the somatics people are
Yeah.
saying what everyone is saying, which is the present moment is all we have. And it's
Hmm.
actually so beautiful if we
Hmm.
can come into this moment and we can meet this moment as it is. We can see that there's like an inherent beauty and enlightened quality to it. And finding a way to take, you know, these binaries out of our mind, this like pain, pleasure, good, bad, and just see something with equanimity,
Mm.
um, became like a way for me to be in the experience of pain and acknowledge the suffering that I was having, but sort of not double down on top of it,
Hmm.
not create more
Yeah.
suffering from that.
Yeah.
And then from that place to like see that there can actually be beauty in this, right? And
Mm.
oftentimes we see that once we get through the experience, we're like, oh yeah, there was this reason for it, and there was this divine orchestration. But even being inside of it, you can see sort of the ways that, oh, because I'm in pain and because I'm suffering, I'm getting to practice greater equanimity. I'm getting to learn about reality as it is. I'm getting to meet my traumas. I'm getting to heal in all of these ways, and reminding yourself of that, especially when your mind is really in the gutter of this
Hmm.
sucks, everything sucks, I'm complaining all the
Yeah. Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
just can help you. Like it's mind training, lojong. You take you change your perspective on the situation.
Yeah. Mm. I'm just sitting with all of this. It's really beautiful.
Thank you.
It's profound. I want to talk about the recent kind of lessons you had posted, 12 lessons that I learned through somatic movement this week, and
Hmm.
talk a little bit about somatics more. And
Yeah, the body of work of somatics was totally introduced to me by Saw.
mm,
And Saw learned somatics not through, Peter Levine
mm-hmm,
and Gabor Mate, but he
mm-hmm.
learned it through Buddhism.
Yes.
And one of his famous quotes and posts is, somatics wasn't created in the 70s by this guy
Yeah.
named Peter Levine. It was
Yeah.
created by the Buddha 2,500 years ago by brown people.
Mm, mm,
The word somatics itself is a colonized word. And
right.
that's like, oh gosh, like we think everything is new, but
I know.
it's
I
not,
know. I
right?
know.
But the work that he's done has been just profoundly influential and inspiring to me in terms of learning how to feel your feelings without a story.
Mm,
And to me, then I was like, oh, that's learning how to feel your feelings without an identity. So we've talked a
mm,
little bit about that. And just, I think he's just platformed me. He's championed me, and he's
yeah.
given me the stage to be able to do what I have been doing for a long time, just sort of on my own.
Mm-hmm.
And in through these conversations, he's giving me language also for things of, oh, that's a trance state.
Mm,
Trance state is
I love
something that
that.
we practice. Well, what is trance state, right? It's when you start to move and your thinking sort of goes away and you're just in the movement. And
Yes.
then because you're in the no self, you sort of have all of this oracular information. You get these
Mm,
psychic visions, you get this wisdom that comes into you, and then you come back into your body and you're like, wait, how do I know these things?
yeah. Yes.
Like what? How do I know these
Yeah.
things? But because you're opening up to that interdependent field, that information can start to come to you. It's yours. It's available to us. And the information in our body, in our
Mm,
blood, in our
mm,
bones, the dances that we have forgotten, but that live sort of in our history can start to come out. Even, people can be like 1% African and they can like find themselves doing this
mm,
African dance. And they're like, I
mm-hmm.
never studied African dance. That's such a great example of the
Mm,
body having all of this intelligence and information and ways that we can sort of understand that we're so much bigger than this myopic self we've
mm,
believed ourselves to be.
mm,
And that's very inspiring. Like pragmatically, what that can do for you is it can change your story. You get that
mm,
embodied experience that I'm more than what I believed to be. Like life is not my assumption of what life is. Life is something like mysterious and ineffable. And that sort of creates this curiosity. and this like excitement to wake up every day and see what can I discover. One of the massive things that I ask people after every session is, what did you discover?
Mm,
Because we're trying to go into the unknown. One of
mm,
the things of my somatic post was get uncomfortable. Like when you are when you are uncomfortable, it's a great sign because
yeah.
you're learning something new. And that's something that I try to, really get people to learn.
When I see you dancing, I feel like you are there. You're in that space that creates great art,
Mm,
that full let go, that I think every true artist wants that.
mm.
When I see you, I'm like, I want that for me, but on stage behind a microphone.
Yeah.
You can recognize it. And, the irony of it is like getting there requires that full release, that
Yeah.
the mind, you know.
It's also like about a deep intimacy and honesty with yourself. I think just to be
Mm,
like all of the like things that I'm holding up, all of the masks and the things I'm pretending to, the spell of being pretty or perfect or having my
mm,
shit together all the time, that it's like I'm willing to sort of expose all that. And then when I expose all that, there's like this deeper intimacy and well of creativity that can start to come through.
I've been thinking a lot about the mask. I wrote about it yesterday because I'm, starting to teach women voice in a way that, I mean, I've been teaching women voice this in a similar way as the movement, but I'm taking it to another level now. And
Mm,
I've been thinking so much about the mask,
mm.
and how difficult that is oftentimes to put that down,
Yeah.
how terrifying it is. And it's not even from an egoic way, like, oh, if you really want to be seen, or but there is, if you really are hungry for being seen, it does really require,
Mm.
that step that can be so terrifying,
Yeah.
you know, of
Yeah,
of
I
dropping
mean,
that mask.
totally.
And
Partnership has taught me this a lot
yeah,
because you can't hide from
yes,
the person that you love, and sort of
yeah,
there's nowhere to go. Like, when
yeah,
you're alone and you're on your own, it's like you can sort of escape and be
yes,
hidden and like when we go to all of these weird places on our
yeah,
own, it's like we
oh
have
yeah,
all of our weird
oh
little
yeah,
habits and things
yes,
like nobody knows about all our little secrets.
yeah,
On the spiritual path, there's not really room for
mm,
secrets. Like those are all the ways we're still sort of possessing and holding on our territory.
yeah,
And deep tantric partnership teaches us that like we have to expose all of that. So like all of my addictions, like the porn addiction that I've had till I'm
mm,
like since I was like 12, I'm like
wow,
totally exposed and like facing like having to move through
wow,
so me being met with like those honest eyes and those eyes that are like you can't hide. I think that's also like how can we approach our creative practice, our dance, our singing with like that kind of brutal
mm,
honesty.
mm.
um yeah, because oftentimes people are like, well, I don't have anything to say. Well,
It's like,
you do, and
you
you
do,
just have to
yeah,
like be very, you have to meet yourself in that uncomfortable place.
yes.
Um, and then it's like then there's like a lot of inspiration there.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I went through menopause early because of my thyroid, and when I was 40. And I'm starting to experience some of the difficulties of what can happen when you go through those kind of hormone shifts. And one is that I've lost like a huge range in my voice.
Mm,
I've lost high range, and dramatically, like quickly.
hmm
It was like literally overnight. And at the same time, my husband and I serve a medicine, and I guide people through their journey with my voice.
hmm
And I through that had found I'm finding this other way,
mm,
because there was so much judgment
mm,
around the loss of tone and quality, and all of a sudden I can't like stay
Mhm.
on a note where I mean my whole life has
Yeah.
been my voice, and I think you can
Wow.
identify with that. And so what I've come to realize in this is it's taking me deeper and deeper and deeper into the shamanic,
Mm.
I guess I would say shamanic because that's what it is for me, elements and practice of like what is behind what I'm doing, what is the sound current, and what is my intentionality behind what
Hmm.
I'm moving,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
then like none of that stuff matters.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if I'm cracking. It doesn't matter if I can't hold a
Oh my God,
note,
it's gorgeous because it's
Yeah.
human.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, break the spell of pretty perfect, have all your shit together. We make people dance chaotically and
Yeah.
ugly, and we're like, make faces and stick your belly out and stick
Yes.
your butt out, and
Yes.
do and slap yourself, and then
Yeah.
and because that narrow idea of like what beautiful sound is or what beautiful movement is um is really limiting and really like actually very harsh
It's
on
so harsh.
ourselves. And so like
Yes.
you're saying, it's like actually seeing so much beauty in the crack and in the like
Mm-hmm.
the rasp and in the like and in the moment where like you didn't sleep and you show up
Mm-hmm.
to your work or whatever and you're on social media and you're trying to say something wise. It's like all the ways that we sort of want to hide and become
Yes.
this like perfect version of ourselves that other people will approve of.
Mm.
Um, but instead just like showing up in the vulnerability of like, this is where I am. This is the human experience. And wisdom is not found in like the pretty, perfect, beautiful. It's actually found in like the raw, real ugly. And I would say same with
Yeah.
healing.
Yeah.
Healing is like a frequency of acceptance,
Yeah.
not a frequency of having your shit together all the time,
Mm.
not a frequency of eating the right meal at every moment.
Mm. Mm.
Healing is to me, it's been a journey about surrendering control,
Yeah.
and learning how like when my boyfriend messes up my plans or when things didn't go the way that I wanted it to go, like how do I meet that with compassion and kindness?
Mm.
So I love that. And I think some of the most beautiful voices we've heard are the voices that like they move with truth, not with
Mm-hmm.
beauty, you know?
Exactly.
Um,
Yes.
yeah,
I agree 100%.
yeah, that's powerful.
Is there anything on your sticky note there that we didn't cover?
I think one thing I do want to say is that your body is like vastly intelligent and it knows
Mm.
exactly what movement it needs. It knows exactly what sound it needs.
Mm.
And so when we go into our body and move from a place of when we really move for ourself, when we move as our own medicine, um, we know exactly what to give ourselves. And that's empowering. Nobody has to teach you this, actually. Your body already knows it. And so I try to remind myself and everybody of that before every practice that we can actually sit here and we can conjure the body, give us an image of how you want to move today, of how you want to feel today, of what feelings need to be released today. And we can sort of like we can even feel it before we even do anything.
Mm.
And so your body is your authority.
Mm.
And I think it's really important that, especially for those of us that have been trained in institutions, or all of us that are socially conditioned to sort
Yeah.
of follow the external authority, that we really remind ourselves that our bodies, our voices are our authorities. And when we listen to them, they give us exactly what we need.
Mm. That's so beautiful. It's food for the soul and the
Yeah.
body,
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is this is the temple.
And once you start to like let your body lead, it will take you places you could have never imagined.
Mm.
I mean, I will do movements that I'm like, how did I just do that? And
Mm.
it was just following my body. And when I was fully in like a devotional space of like letting go to my body, let my body lead, my body knows what it needs. I'll like stretch in a way that I'm like, whoa,
Mm.
because I'm
Mm.
no longer in sort of the mental contraction of what is possible, what is good, what is bad. I'm going into that unknown, into that mystery. I know you do this too in your
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
channeling.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, this is
Yeah,
really, yeah, exciting stuff.
it is. It's like I said, this is it. This is where we're going, I think, as a planet. This is what we need. This is part of like decolonizing, you know? This is part
Yeah.
of healing and de-thawing and de-numbing and,
Yeah,
you know?
it's like we get validation through possessing things. Like that's what our culture is about. Like the more that I can possess, the more territory, the more land, the more success, the more people, the more customers I can
Mm,
possess, then that builds this enormous ego that then gets fed off of this insatiable greed. And
mm,
we think that, that is what is going to save us. That is what is going to give us the juice, but it's not. And I think people
mm.
are waking up to that this is not, why am I doing this? This is
Yes.
not giving me what I actually want.
Yes.
And so then when we start to move into the body, into nature, and we start to, into the goddess, which
Mm,
has been a profound part of my path of
mm,
as a devotee of Isis,
mm,
we start to uncover like a much greater joy and pleasure through surrender, not
mm,
through gaining territory, but through surrendering all territory.
mm,
When you become no one, you become everything and everyone, and all of that becomes yours and not
mm.
yours at all. And
Yeah.
it just gets to move through you, and you
Yeah.
become that free vessel for all of
Yes.
that. That's the greatest gift. It's the greatest pleasure. That's what we pray to as a priest, as a priestess, as a devotee every day,
Mm,
is like, may
mm,
I be the servant of the magnitude of the universe.
mm,
And when I sing this song or when I dance this dance, may I allow the powers of the universe and the those that are maybe not spoken for. This is where we can also become an advocate on behalf of nature, an advocate on behalf of the voices that have been oppressed. We can let those channel through us, and then our
yes.
dances and our songs become forces of change.
Mm. Preach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank
And
you so much.
thank you so much. This was a beautiful conversation. I feel so like lit up and just, oh, filled up. I'm curious where people find you, how they can come and dance with you.
Yeah. So my method that is a burgeoning method, but it's been deep in me for so long, is called temple dance. And it's about bringing back the dance as worshiping the powers of the cosmos.
Mm,
And through our dances, we celebrate the loss of self, the
mm,
death, the awe, the beauty, the chaos. Um, Dance as a way to become a priest or priestess of change.
mm,
Um, so I'm teaching this alongside my partner who teaches SAW method, somatic activated healing in LA on April 28th. I don't know when this will be launched, but we're teaching it all the time. We're going to be teaching
yes.
it every month. So come do a temple dance class. There's also a free class in my Instagram bio.
Okay.
My Instagram is Nathan Hirschaut. Nathan, Nathan, Hirschaut, Hirschaut.
Oh, I said
Um,
your name wrong. I have to fix that at the beginning.
oh,
I
don't worry
said
about it.
Hirschaut. So,
Oh, okay. It sounded similar
oh,
enough. I think
okay.
it's a
Okay.
yeah, it's okay. So yeah, come DM me and let's meet and dance together.
Love it. I will post your Substack and all the places they can find you. And
Thank you.
I'm just so grateful for this conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Heartlight Sessions podcast is executive produced and hosted by me, Janae Halstead. It's edited, mixed, and mastered by me too. And that theme song you hear, it's called Heartlight. And yep, you guessed it, it's from my record Disposable Love. Got questions about a certain healing modality or about heart-centered healing? Or maybe you just need some advice on life, love, or creativity? Send it my way. Email me at letters@heartlightpodcast.com. Until next time, I'm Janae Halstead, and thanks for listening to Heartlight Sessions. Turning on my heart light, 1,000 volts of sunshine.